Hello, and welcome to a brand new episode of FTB Neotech, the mod pack we've been playing through. But I'm sure you've already known that if you're joining on episode 10, right? So yeah, behind me you'll probably notice that we've gotten into AE2 a bit more than what we had last time, because I'm pretty sure last time we did the processors, and that was about it. Now we have gotten to the point where we can use the wireless crafting system, and we'll go through how it's being charged and all that good hoopla. But basically this system can hold hold on, I did the math on it the other day. 791,328 items in it, give or take. If my math is right there. So it's a storage system to really hold most everything that we should need for the rest of the game. If we need to upgrade it, it honestly should not be that difficult to upgrade either. And basically what we have is just a whole bunch of limited drawers or barrels, whatever you want to call them, that have been upgraded all the way to diamond. So each one of these large ones can hold 8,000 items. Each one of these small ones can also hold 8,000 items, but it's split either 4 ways or 2 ways. So that being said, there are, I think, 32 here and 32 here, so 64 total. All of which can, of course, hold 8,000 items. So that alone is a whole lot of stuff to be held. Now, most of this is going to be stuff that we automate, stuff that I am getting from our tree farm that maybe I need, saplings one day, but not today. And then over here, we just have a whole bunch of chests, which honestly, if I wanted to make this a bit tidier, I would take all of this stuff that's sort of hidden, the upper 200, 300 limit, and I would throw it over in some of these drawers, or even I could get a stack upgrade for these chests. But I figured with our current setup, it's okay if I ever need to do things of that nature, then I can, and well, it'll be all fine and dandy come that day. But we've only touched the first 2, and we still have, I think, 14 more to go. So plenty of room. And now to get into how this actually works. So I guess this is the best sign here. This is a storage link from Sophisticated Storage, the same mod as the barrels. Oh, I started out spelling it right, and then I went so wrong so quickly. So it's going to be this little flat device that you see here. And we can actually make this once we get into the electric packer, because of course we already have the reinforced stone slabs. We can already make the upgrade base, and these circuits are actually not that bad given we have the sword that we can use in our electric quarry to, get the ender pearls. We can trade with our piglins to get the nether quartz, same thing with the ender pearls. So you really have a lot of routes as far as how to get this circuit, and it's not that difficult. That being said, that'll allow you to create the storage links. I have one on top of this chest. I have one. Oh, it's right there on top of this drawer. It's a little hard to see because it kind of blends in with the andesite in the background. And then I have one on top of this far right middle drawer, if you can see that up there. And essentially what these do is they connect to a storage controller, which I may be able to, is this the, yes, this should actually, well, it's not going to show me because I don't have the storage controller linking right now, but maybe I can go up there. Or if I do this, aha, there we go. So each of these storage links is going to the storage controller up top. Now, this storage controller can be thought of kind of like the same way as storage drawers, right? You can't open it up and use it as a crafting area or do any of that kind of stuff. So we'll go take a look real quick at it. So here's the block, and basically you just take your wrench here that I have in my hand, your storage tool. If you shift, you can scroll, and that'll change what the item does. Just go to the linking one, right click on your storage drawer. It may say unlinking at first, but as soon as you right click on the storage drawer, it'll turn to linking. And it'll give you all the information about, which one you're linking to. It'll highlight it, yada, yada, yada. And then basically what you can do is go down there and right click each of your links. Now, the way that I have this set up is kind of pretty ingenious, if you ask me personally. The way that the storage controller works as far as distributing items is it goes to the closest storage links first. I'm not sure if you can change priority outside of that, so this is just how I've done it. If you got another system or if you know how to change priority, by all means, let me know. But in order to ensure that all the items that are in our drawers, right, the stacked items, so to speak, don't start overflowing the chest and make sure that they always go into the drawers first, I've placed the storage links on the drawers closer to the storage controller. So it'll try and send in this one and that one before it ever tries to send it into our chest over there. So if you're wondering, hey, how can I automate this in a system like yours where you have both chest and drawers? That's pretty much it. As far as what I'm doing, at least, is locational um, prioritization, we'll call it. So yeah, it'll send it into this one first and foremost. And because all of these drawers are locked, which of course you can use your storage tool for, you just scroll to locking, unlocking, excuse me, give it a little right click and you're good to go. I'm not going to do it because I don't want anything to come over to these drawers. But yeah, that'll keep it so that way whenever I put in copper plates into my system, they won't just automatically start filling in one of these random drawers. Same thing over here, they're all locked up. So it'll check, do I have apples, saplings, sugar canes, sticks, logs, or paper? No? Okay, well, what about over here? Do we have anything? No? Okay, well, then send it into the chest. And so that's how that is working. Now, obviously, this is applied energistics too, not sophisticated storage. So how are we hooking our sophisticated storage up to our applied energistics 2 system here? Well, I'm glad you asked. It tells you a little bit about it in the quest book, and I'm sure it's useful, yada, yada, yada. But I can just go ahead and explain it just as well. And then if you need a second take, by all means, it is in the quest book under the storage drawers section. And some things are covered, some things are not. This item that I'm using is the ME storage bus. We kind of skipped right past the ME interface, or I think I made one, but I just sent it right back into the system, so we didn't get the quest for it, which kind of sucks because, I mean, you get some rewards for this, obviously, and you can get 2 free ME storage buses just for making the controller, so a lot of different routes here. Anyways, what this storage bus does is essentially allows you to connect your system to an external to an external storage system, and then pull and push items into it, basically as it sees fit. So we have the storage bus hooked onto our storage controller, so it can pull items out of the storage controller as well as send items into it. Now, how I have this set up is the priority for this on the storage bus connected to the storage controller is set to 10. The reason for this is insertion, higher priority first, extraction, lower priority first. So this right here, insertion, higher priority first, that's very important because this isn't the only kind of system that we have in our applied energistics. We also have some item storage cells. But as you'll see, none of these item storage cells are actually filled up, minus the 4K one that we initially used on our system when we first set it up across the way over there. So I basically just took that whole system and moved it over here, and that's why we have some items currently in the storage cell. But honestly, it's like, what, 2 types and 65. So yeah, not a whole lot of items there. That being said, I don't want these to fill up before our chest and our drawers fill up, right? I want this to sort of be the last line of defense, because really I don't want this to fill up at all until I can get more disk and bigger disk and make it to where I don't ever have to worry about it, right? For the time being, I don't have that accessibility, so I'd like it if nothing really goes onto these. If absolutely must, though, sure, they're able to be used. And the way that we're doing this is by having the priority here be set to 0. So 10 over there is obviously higher than 0 over here, which means that all of our items will first and foremost try to insert over there. And then if they can't, then it'll insert here. But of course, they have no reason of why they can't or shouldn't. And then as far as extraction goes, if we have anything on the storage cell that we can pull out and extract, it's going to pull that out first instead of, pulling it out from the rest of the system, and that'll just help us to clear it out. Excuse me. Now, you might be saying, Chance, I see no power source on your system here. I see all the fancy doodads, but I see no way of how you're actually keeping it alive. And, well, quite simply put, this is going to be this crystal resonance generator. Now, honestly, I should have it onto a storage cell. I'm pretty sure that's AE2 that has those, right? AE2. Yeah, I should have it on some kind of energy cell, just build it. And you know what? That's not even that hard to make. Can I, should I, and would I go ahead and do this? We don't have enough quartz flux dust? Are you kidding me? I feel like that's a lie. I feel like we definitely have enough flux dust somewhere. That being said, I'll go ahead and take some out and we can go get some later in the episode because, yeah, having this attached to an energy cell will allow us to have a little bit bigger buffer on our system. Yeah, we don't need to go into a dense one. I mean, at some point, sure. But essentially, the crystal resonance generator is a free generator that you can hook up to your system. You can only have one attached, so don't worry about going and making more than one. And it usually provides you with enough just to keep things very basic. It's not what's powering our wireless crafting. We actually have a pocket generator from Just Dire Things, which we'll get into here in just a minute. So the only thing that this is really powering is our main system, right? Whenever we actually use the crafter down below. So, and that's pretty much the ME system or the AE2 system. Sorry, it's very basic, and don't let the impressiveness of the room below fool you. I say impressiveness with air quotes, but of course you can't see those air quotes, so there you go. Now, eventually, the idea will be to refurnish this room so it looks a bit better, and we get the teleporter from one of the mods using, or for making an Endera. So just ignore that. I'm going to use it whenever we go to the end, which I don't think is going to happen today. It may, but it's not something that I'm actually gunning for, right? Sorry. Now, onto our wireless crafting system. All you'll need is a wireless crafting terminal, which, you know, just go through your little EMI system here and you can figure out you need a ME terminal and a crafting, and then you get the ME crafting terminal and combine it with wireless and so on and so forth. That all being said, there's nothing in the quest book that tells you how to link this to your system, so take an ME wireless access point, which of course you can just search this up. Access point. There it is, right? Not very expensive, pretty straightforward as far as how to make it. And then all you'll want to do is throw your wireless crafting terminal in there. It'll say linked on it and you're good to go. If you want to increase the range by which you can access your wireless crafting terminal, you want to insert some range boosters here. Have already done this, and it's just not worth the power because as soon as you insert the range upgrades here, it starts using more than 4 FE per tick, right? With every new range upgrade you put in, it uses a little bit more energy. And so far, I've found that 4 FE per tick does not shut down the whole system, whereas if you add any more in that are substantial enough to give you range, it will shut down the whole system. So, until I figure out some way to put some power over here, or care enough to put some power over here, we're going to have a little bit of a limited range on our wireless crafting system. So if you ever see me walk towards the middle and try to craft, that's pretty much why. But that being said, let's go sleep over here real quick. That being said, there are several access points in the base that aren't really that hard to get to from where we are, and it certainly makes accessing our main system a bit better. If you're looking at the buff that I just got from sleeping in the bed, that is the well-rested enchantment, which you can place on beds, and it simply says gives you a little bonus, you know, whenever you sleep in this bed. And that's what it does. It gives you some toughness and some extra health and full saturation, and just like really buffs you up to the max. So you'll see here, I can still use my terminal. I'm down here in the main crafting hub kind of place, and so it's really useful to just be able to walk over here and do whatever we need to do while having access to everything. This area may look a bit different because it has begun to degenerate into just, you know, a bit of a slop here recently, but that's okay. We have gone through and I've set up, basically this drill is no longer using bronze drills at all. We're not using this chest at all for getting normal material. I ran through like 64 or something like that and got just a monster ton of items and resources. And well, to be fair, I don't need iron from the system anymore because we have equivalent exchange and we have infinite emeralds thanks to our setup over there. I don't need gold because same as before, we have infinite amounts. And I don't care about making any more tin or copper because if I start running low on these, I feel like I'll have a pretty good heads up and I can start making them again. Until that time comes, we're gonna just say X-nay on the bronze drills down here at least. So this electric quarry will pretty much only be used for the steel drill, the gold drill, which is what I've primarily have used it for, and maybe the swords that get us the mob drops, right? Because throw a couple more in, we have 7 wither skeleton skulls. Now, defeating the wither, that is something that does greatly interest me. If nothing else, then for the fact that we can use a nether star to craft ourselves the transmutation table. And a lot of things in this mod pack actually have EMC. So being able to take that EMC and get some really useful items such as the drills, it'd be nice. Like the drills that you put into the quarries, they are EMCable, which means you can just print infinite amounts of them once you have the right setup, right? Which is exactly what we're going for. Now, right now, I don't believe it's working. I did just have some steel drills in there, but I didn't really want to set it up to fully run because I don't have any of this automated. So anytime I want to use these, then I have to go process them. And this chest is actually meant to be storing the gold drill results, hence why we have all these cables coming out of it, because, well, you get a lot of netherrack, you get a lot of soul sand and basalt and all of these sort of miscellaneous things. I need to go take that nether quartz and smash it down, which I may or may not want for base designing in the future. So I went ahead and saved them all. They do have void upgrades, so we don't have to worry about if they hit their limit, they'll automatically X-nay themselves. Same thing over here. We're avoiding nether gold just outright from the system. I know you see some here, but that's because if I insert it, it won't void it for whatever reason. Now that being said, I'm pretty sure I could... No, I can't even just sacrifice it to the gods over here. Whatever. But yeah, so whenever I insert it into the system, it doesn't work, and I had some lingering in one of these, so that's just the way the cookie crumbles. But that basically means that the only thing that we can have and should have in the chest when we're running this normally is ancient debris, which of course we have a ton of chest space, so we're never going to fill this all up with ancient debris. That being said, we do have a crap ton of it, and I've also already processed up quite a bit of netherite. It's really not a hard process to follow. So you get the ancient debris as you saw from the gold drill there, and basically just take it through the same process as everything else. So make sure you have a steel mixer. You take your netherite scrap, you take some gold dust, which you already know how to make, and you get your netherite dust, which you can then put in the EBF to get your netherite. It does have to go in the EBF. You can't just smelt this stuff regularly, so make sure you're keeping an eye on that. As far as the netherite scrap goes, you're going to want to put it into your macerator, not your furnace, because this gives you a 2 yield, this gives you a 1 yield. 2, 1, 2, 1. So, yeah, to make sure you're getting double the output there and really getting your bang for your buck with your netherite scrap. That being said, having netherite has allowed us to get into the auto traders, because that's essentially the only thing that's really gating you there is one netherite ingot, and then the rest is all really, really simple. What the auto trader does is allows you to select a trade that the villager may have. Maybe a little hard to tell the difference here because all of them are set to iron. But for example, this one has 4 iron to 1 emerald, and this one has 3. So whatever trades are available on that villager when you place them in, that will be the same trades that you have available to select. So like this one has a discount, so it's going to stay at 3 actually for the entirety of its existence, basically. Now, we actually need a little bit more in this system, so perfect timing. Let's do that real quick, just to show you how this all works. Because initially, I think I'd said it in a previous video as well, I was going to take the sugar cane and condense it down into paper and then have that be sold. but that system ran so slow comparative to this. Because my thinking was for every 1 emerald we get, it is a whole stack of iron, right? Because of equivalent exchange. So it works out that it's like, oh, I don't know what I just did there. So it works out that it's actually very useful to trade iron to get emeralds, because obviously if 4 iron makes 1 emerald and 1 emerald makes a stack of iron, then for every 4 iron you can get 60 iron back, or, you know, well on your way to another emerald, and yada yada yada. So yeah, it's like pretty well worth it. For 4 iron you get 1 emerald, for 1 emerald you get 60, basically a net positive of 60 iron, and you can turn that iron right back into, you know, more emeralds and so on and so forth. And so that's what you'll see here, is they're basically just drawing all the iron from the system, which I periodically just come over here, empty this out, and transform, excuse me, all of the emeralds into iron just as such, which it really doesn't take long, because you can do 1,000 at a time, as you see here. You just shift click it all in. You don't have to worry about your philosopher's stone breaking or having too many uses or any of that kind of shenanigans. So it's really good. And you see we're already at 4,000 items there in the system. Now we're up to 5,000. This will make 6. And I just happen to know that 2 stacks of emeralds is pretty much exactly what we're going for, because again, I've been doing this quite a bit. Oops. And this might be a little overflow. Yep, 27. Very close, very close. But then we have, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 villagers all processing this to really assist and help speed this up, because 1 villager was nice and got us into the hundreds. 6 villagers has allowed us to get into the thousands, because again, every villager here is taking 4 iron and transforming it into an emerald, and this is all happening passively as we're just sort of lollygagging through the world. And generally you can make a couple trades here before it turns it X, you know, so they're going to get a couple of emeralds out of here before they have that little cooldown period. And that's essentially how you can get infinite emeralds, which gives you infinite iron, infinite diamonds, infinite gold, and infinite ender pearls by way of infinite iron. Now, that's going to be really useful, not because you need you do need a lot of iron and gold and diamonds in this pack, but more so over, you can then take those emeralds to come buy everything you actually need for modern industrialization. So typically what I'll do is I'll just come over here, grab a couple stacks. It really doesn't matter. We're not ever going to empty that thing. And also, we're never going to overflow it. So typically, a gold, or rather a diamond barrel, can hold 8,192. However, the stack upgrades that you can apply to various sophisticated storage items, such as your backpack or whatever, that typically allows you to multiply the number of stacks that can fit, it works the same here. So multiply that 8,000 by 16, and now this barrel can hold 131,000 emeralds. If we hit that point, I promise you I'm not using them all. There's no way, Jose, I ever will, right? Surely not. And if I do, well, at least I had them to use them. Anyway, so yeah, I'll just come over here and I'll buy whatever it is that it's tickling my fancy, whatever it is that I may need for whatever I'm building, because we can get a ton of stuff. Steel plates, bronze gears, copper rotors, rubber sheets, like most everything. Motors, right? That's a pretty big one, pretty annoying one, rather. Steel gears, analog circuits, like it's just crazy. You can also buy bronze drills, which we'll get into why that's so important here in just a minute, because that is by far one of the nicest things available. Anyway, so that is pretty much the cycle of villagers. That's the system of AE2 that we have set up, and both of which I would highly recommend at least checking out if you're looking to make things a bit more efficient and take a few shortcuts. Because, I mean, let's be real, this is a very grindy pack. Everyone wants a shortcut here and there. If you don't, I don't know what to tell you, man. Take a break in life every once in a while, I suppose. Anyways, nothing has changed back here Really, one thing I don't think I ever mentioned this, and I don't think I ever really noticed it myself or thought about, but when you're using a quarry, and let me pull up a drill because I think this sort of better defines it, right? Imagine it like a sieve. Whenever you put a piece of gravel into a sieve, it has, 20% chance that it'll produce this, 5% chance it'll produce that, yada, yada, yada. Well, whenever you sieve a piece of gravel, you could actually theoretically get a piece of iron from one piece, and then a piece of coal from another piece, and then a piece of tin or copper from another piece, or whatever, So you could end up getting actually 5 items. Well, the drills kind of work the same way. You can get multiple of these blocks at the same time. So that one output hatch that you start out with that has 2 empty slots, it's really bottlenecking your system, and you should have somewhere closer to like 5 output hatches. Because if we take a look at the gold drill, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 possible items that could be outputted. And if you're looking to get ancient debris, which only has a 5% chance, the chances that you hit ancient debris while also not hitting netherrack, which you get netherrack every single time, is almost impossible that you would hit ancient debris and not any of these other ones instead of, right? So instead of having just the one output hatch, I recommend you upgrade that to around 5, because again, that holds most everything. Your steel drill does have 11 outputs, which is a bit annoying. I really wish they would find one to chop off or add another one, either which way, chop one or add one. Chop bauxite. You don't need bauxite on here. You already have that coming from the bronze drill. Yeah. Yeah, chop bauxite off. But that way, you keep at an even 10, and so both systems can sort of run off the same number of outputs, and so on and so forth. So the middle chest is set up for the gold drill outputs. Typically, the top chest is set up for sword outputs, typically. But we had to do a little finessing and tweaking. This furnace is just a furnace that has the speed 3 and yield 2 upgrades on it, and I really was just trying to clear out my system from all the blocks that had accumulated, and so I threw this on to assist in this furnace smelting process. We went over the fuel canister and all that kind of stuff in the last episode, so I won't be going over it again. I believe maybe we didn't, because I didn't go over the pocket generator. That's a very new thing. Anyways, this is just dire things. It's very cheap to make. It's ferrocore and a coal. And this fuel canister, honestly, I should have made it as soon as we were able to make it in this mod pack. What you can do is put any burnable fuel in here, which there's some. So you can put any burnable fuel in here, and it'll increase the fuel amount by, equal to what it is. So oak planks is adding 1.5 fuel each time you add a plank. And it'll tell you how much cook time you have, which we have 931,000, and that's in ticks. Of course, 20 seconds is, or 20 ticks is a single second, so you can do the math here if you want to. I'm not gonna. I'm sorry. But we have a lot of cook time within this fuel canister. And essentially what this fuel canister does is you can insert it into a normal furnace, as you see over here, and it'll act as a fuel amount that's not going to continuously burn. It's only going to use one fuel amount per operation, if that makes sense. So if I threw iron in here, it's going to smelt 1 iron and take 1 fuel, regardless of if I throw coal or lava or whatever into this thing to add to the cook time. So I have 2 of these things. One's for a furnace that I can sort of move around and adjust as need be. The other one is going to be for our pocket generator, which essentially takes combustible fuel, which is exactly what the fuel canister acts as, essentially. And then it turns it into Fe. Now, typically the Fe produced is going to be based on the burn speed multiplier that you see at the bottom of the middle GUI selection that sort of hovered there from the fuel canister. So you see it says burn speed multiplier 2. Now you get this from throwing in higher tier burnables, essentially, and the ones that you'll really want to be looking at is the ones from just dire things. So you'll want to throw in the coals over here, right? So the blaze ember, the primal coal, the void flame coal, the eclipse ember. If you throw this in, you'll get your burn speed multiplier, and the faster your burn speed is, the more Fe per tick you're producing. So right now we're able to produce 120, And what this pocket generator does is it essentially... Oh, you can press V to disable it as well. That's pretty cool. I did not know that. But essentially it keeps everything in your inventory charged up. So this is how we're charging our wireless crafting terminal, is by having this pocket generator that is constantly burning fuel, or rather only burning fuel when we need it. That is kind of the nice thing, is it doesn't constantly burn fuel like most generators. Is it only burns to get you back to full energy, and then it stops, which is why we're able to have so much fuel amount stored in there and still be good to use this thing as free as we possibly could want to be. So that is most of that caught up. All of this is caught up. We did that. This is, I'm just piping in steel here and piping it out because, I mean, I'm not using this thing for anything else. Eventually, we could put some more molten redstone in there once we come back to using the assembler. But I've not used the assembler or most of this little back setup for quite some time. Oh, I will take the silicone, though. Can't you... You just melt this down? Yeah, okay. But yeah, so I've not really used that whole back setup. I don't know how long it's been. It's been a good little minute. Okay, so I'm gonna throw this in there just to keep it rocking and rolling, and then we're gonna persist on with the other new things that we've sort of made in this pack. I did make myself a dark matter sword. Not sure if I had that in the last episode. The main reason here is it has a 13 attack speed. So while we technically deal more attack damage with the diamond all-in-one tool, the dark matter sword can literally swing almost infinitely. As you see, its little recharge bar there is just nothing. And I'm doing a little double tap here because I have a little macro button on my mouse that's sort of pre-set up, and it basically just does a quick little double click. So yeah, it's a really good offensive item in case you're looking about like, oh, which one should I use? I'm not saying you should use this one. I'm just saying it's the one that I chose, and that is why I chose it. We're going to get into all of this madness here in just a second because this is... I would like to say it's less complicated than what it looks like, but it's really not. It is every bit equally as complicated as what you're looking and thinking it is. So we're going to avoid that, and we're just going to go right here. This is the growth accelerator. If you're looking to get into applied energistics too, and you're like, God damn, these quartz clusters are just taking so long to grow. Well, you're not wrong, and you're not alone. They have created this growth accelerator to greatly, it says it's around about 90 times faster, that's right, 90, to grow various clusters. And this also works for amethyst, just in case you're trying to ball out on some amethyst shards. And then they stack additively. So if I had one growth accelerator here and then one growth accelerator here, these blocks would be popping off the wazoo as far as how quickly the things turn to clusters. But as you can see, you really don't need two of them. One is by far enough. As long as you have fortune on your tool, you'll be in the hundreds in no time at all. And then basically what I'm going to say is make the growth accelerator and use your flawed gemstones or whatever over there. And then save your flawless ones, the ones that you get from the quest. I'm not sure which quest it is. There's somewhere within this realm, right? One of you... Here it is. Intergalactic technology. So whenever you make the meteorite compass and locate a meteor, it will give you 4 flawless budding certs quartz. Do not place these down until you get yourself the growth accelerator because these don't break. All the other ones in the pack do, and you can't move these once you've placed them. You can, but it's going to be very complicated. As far as just overly unnecessarily complicated, as opposed to just putting them where you need them or want them in the first place. So put your growth accelerator down, surround it by the budding quartz or whatever you want, the flawless quartz, and then you're good to go. Technically, sure, I could have the bottom busted out on these bad guys, and it would give us an extra opportunity for spawning them. I don't care. It makes them fast enough that it doesn't matter to me personally. If it matters to you, raise it up, throw it on there, you're good to go. Now, one other thing to note, one key note, is we've actually turned this system off from using the coal down below because we turned off the bronze quarry, right? Or you know what I mean? We turned off using the bronze drills down in the quarry, so, you know, it kind of ex-nayed what fuel we had running into the system, because initially it was just coal that was being transformed into coke and being sent over into the large steam boiler. Now the system that we have set up is a bit different, and I'll get into that here in just a minute, but essentially we are pumping coal dust over because coal dust can still be turned into coke dust. It still creates you creosote in this system, and it powers things for quite a while, which is why we have a surplus there, as well as, you know, many surpluses all around. But yeah, that's just because I don't like to run out of stuff. So yeah, this is all done up into a different way so that we won't run out. Pretty much any day of the week, any time of the week, this system should be pretty much fully automated. And I'll get into the one thing that is manual, but it doesn't have to be. Technically, it could also be automated once we hit a certain auto crafting level, I guess we could call it. Statue milestone, I don't know. So basically I just set up another brick oven. You'll see here it's literally an exact duplicate. And then we have two of them working to transform coal dust into coke dust, which is why we're getting up actually a pretty nice amount here. And of course you need coke dust for just an absolute ton of things, but the first and most basic, probably most prominent in your eyes, is going to be steel. And that's okay, you know, if that's what you're going for. So nothing's changed with the steam boiler. I've still not upgraded it, but I really need to, as well. I have built our first MV steam turbine. I was doing the math, and it says on the initial large steam boiler that it can take up to 8 LV steam turbines. And it takes 4 LV steam turbines to make 1 MV steam turbine. So technically, off of all of this power setup, we could only power 2 of these MV steam turbines at a time. So yeah, you know, you just be careful and be cautious with the MV steam turbines, because also if you have 2 of these trying to pump into 110 cable, well, no, 2 of them would be fine. If you have 3 of them though, you'll probably get an explosion, because you can't overfill the networks in this mod, right? And yeah, these produce 128, I want to say, EU per tick. So pretty good. And again, 4 times the amount that these do. So we're able to do 4 of those in one of these instead of doing just 8 LV steam turbines total, or just doing 2 MV steam turbines. Eventually, I would like to upgrade this because I think it says it does 4 times as much steam production. So then we could have 8 MV steam turbines, which is a lot of power if you're asking me personally, in a pack where generating power is damn near impossible. Anyway, so that's the power system set up. We do have a little electrolyzer here, but that's honestly, that kind of fell to the wayside and I kind of forgot about it. So let's go over to this giant elephant in the room, because it is, well, it's a hefty boy. So, as I mentioned before, we can actually use villagers to get bronze drills. We can just trade for it. What I've done is set up an auto trader with, I mean, technically this is supposed to have emeralds inside of here, like this. And then basically it just takes the emeralds from here, throws it into the auto trader, and the auto trader gives us the bronze drills that we've always known and loved so deeply. Then from here, we take that and we put the bronze drills into a chest so we have a buffer, and send the bronze drills into the quarry. But again, what is that? 6 stacks of 64 plus more just constantly being created. So like this quarry is not going to be running out of drills anytime soon. And even when we get equivalent exchange like up and running, I hesitate to say that there'd be too much of a better setup than this little compactedness here. If you're wondering, Chance, I only see one pipe going into this thing, but you're both placing items in and taking items out, to which I would say you are correct. This is set to insert or extract. Now, in order to do this, you need to set the filter on this back. Oh, excuse me. Set the filter and the priority on this back one so that way it is higher, right? Higher priorities first. So whenever it tries to send something out of this, it doesn't just send it right back in. So this just basically says, when you create an item, check to see this box first. If you can insert the item, send the item. If not, then it'll end up sending the item back into the auto trader. But I've never had a problem with that before, and this is your typical steam quarry. I didn't feel the need to make an electric quarry because, well, we're really only using the bronze drills here for it. So yeah, so just don't waste your time using an electric quarry on bronze drill setup. That's the long and the short of it. Anyways, from that, we have our 5 output hatches here in the back that are placing all of our stuff into one chest. This chest does have a void upgrade, so we're getting rid of tin, copper, and gold. Again, you see the ores, but that's because I've manually placed them in there. Just ignore it. I'm ignoring it, so I know you can too. Then from this chest, we're pulling, whatever you want to call it, pulling out 4 separate possible transactions. So we have bauxite, we have redstone, we have coal, and we have iron that is actually being pulled out. And we'll get into why the iron, even though I just said we don't need it earlier. So all those are being pulled out and then of course processed down. The iron goes down into raw iron and everything else, goes into its mystical crushed dust phase, which then gets remacerated in order to give us all of our dust that you see here. The bauxite, the redstone, which is gone, the coal dust, the sulfur, and the raw iron. That's what that was, right? Yeah. So from this setup, we actually get coal dust, which I can then pipe. You'll notice it runs here along the ceiling, all the way back over and down into our 2 coke ovens. So one setup here, run everything all the way through. Oh, not all the way through there. All the way through to here, and then you have infinite items for fuel generation. Now, as far as the creosote goes, I've just not really needed it, so we've started to pump it into a very large tank, which you can't see all that well right now, but just know it's eventually going to fill up with creosote, and then we'll just have an insane buffer limit to the point where we may not need to make pretty much any more ever again. So yeah, this will go through, turns everything into the dust form. Now, why do we need to do anything further past this? Well, we got the fuel. That was the main thing, the first bit that I started on over here to be like, oh, hey, you know what? Let me just do this real quick because this solves our previous fuel solution that was over there, as well as automates everything else from, this quarry. Now, my objective here with everything was to get through a hefty amount of this quest book and actually get to the point where we can make stainless steel. You'll notice we kind of fell a little short here as well. We still cannot make it, but that's all right. Oh, excuse me. Because I'm pretty sure the only thing we need to make it now is the vacuum freezer, which we can get. It's just going to take quite a bit of aluminum, which we're, working on allowing to build up through our various systems. Now, what I primarily worked on in between the episodes was building this whole thing out, the centrifuge and the electrolyzer and the chemical reactor and this, that, and the other. Which I didn't go into the distillery because liquid fuel, not nearly as interesting to me as solid fuel because it's just harder to manage. The liquids in this game are really, really difficult because they're all in millibuckets, and if you take a 1/1000th millibucket, then everything's fucked, it seems, and I'm just not trying to do that. So way on down here, you'll see that we have the chromium tiny dust and the manganese, tiny dust. And what we can do with this is we can combine it into manganese, which then we can mix together with chromium, stuff to our left, iron, which we have plenty of, and nickel. And that'll give us non-stainless steel dust. I'd like to say that's all, folks, and we're good to go. But you put this non-stainless steel dust into the EBF, and you get stainless steel hot ingots. Hot, hot, hot. What you can do with these is put them into a heat exchanger with some cryo fluid and shit. Or, you know, just use the vacuum freezer. So that's pretty much what we're going to be going for today is stainless steel. Well, hell, I say today, but it looks like it's probably going to be broken into 2 parts once again. But that is my main objective, is to go into steel and have all of it be automated. Now, to go through the automation process of getting to your chromium dust, because if we come in here and you read it, well, first things first, I'm the realist. You need a centrifuge, and what you'll do is you'll put some redstone into that centrifuge, and it'll give you iron and quartz and neodymium and ruby. Oh, you know what? I don't think I ever accounted for that neodymium. I did not. Shucks. So I'm gonna need another one of these barrels real quick. Oh, it's not fantastic, but I can always upgrade it later. So that's it. You know, it is what it is. Not the manganese, the neodymium. Let's do this because I do want it to be capable of producing everything that we need it to produce. Let's take one of these back out, open this bad boy up, and say only neodymium can go in this this chest here. And this recipe does take quite a while, so that's why I've sort of set it and forgot it. And if I check in here real quick, sorry about that. So yeah, basically you put redstone into a centrifuge, it gives you ruby dust. You put that ruby dust into another centrifuge, and it gives you the chromium crushed dust as well as some aluminum. So that's kind of what we're going to walk through this step by step, because I find that's how I best learn and pick something up. So we have redstone. It goes into our first centrifuge, right? Like I just said, that gets turned down into ruby, right? And a whole bunch of other things. Now the rubies are going to be in this diamond barrel, and once / if the system ever fully fills up, you'll notice that. And then it gives us quartz dust, and it gives us neodymium, and it gives us iron dust, right? Iron dust. So, oh my goodness, that's actually a lot more than I thought it was going to be here. And we should take advantage of this by getting some out of the system, because we don't actually have a need for anything with iron dust outside of making some steel. And of course, steel is very useful, and having a whole lot of it. Even though I can buy a lot of the steel-based items, I can't buy everything in steel. And so you just kind of got to... Oh, hold on. Okay, sorry about that. So yeah, with steel, most of it I can buy, but there are a few things that you can't buy. Those things that you can't buy, obviously having some sort of steel production is really nice, and having something that automatically makes you iron dust. And of course, our 2 coke ovens over here automatically make us coke dust, and that's all you need for making steel. So technically, if I wanted to, I could combine these 2 items together, send them into some sort of setup, and it would be automated still. I'm not too worried about it. Again, I buy most of my steel products just straight from the traders, and those that I can't, I just throw an outrageous amount at the wall. So, redstone, it's being crushed down. We get all this kind of stuff. I'm not going to worry about what this is over on the side yet, because it is, while we're able to send iron over here. And yeah, one thing I will say about this setup is most of the extras, well, maybe not most of the extras, but some of the extras sort of blend together. So from centrifuging redstone, you'll notice you get... Oh, hell, I done passed it. You actually get iron dust and quartz dust and neodymium. Well, the neodymium and the quartz dust, they can be extra over here, but you can actually use the quartz dust to make more silicone in the future. So it's not necessarily a bad byproduct, and I'm sure the neodymium has some kind of use, surely. The iron dust that gets made is, like I said, can be used for creating infinite steel. So this process here, it's pretty beneficial as far as pushing you into fully automating a couple more systems and a couple more resources. Anyway, so from that we get the ruby, right? The ruby dust. Then we go to centrifuge that. We get our chromium and aluminum, which comes out here. There's the aluminum. This is the chromium. Chromium goes into a chemical reactor because, as it says here, you need hydrochloric acid to mix with the chromium in order to get the chromium dust. So if we come to an electrolyzer, you'll see chromium hydrochloric solution, which gives you chromium tiny dust. Now, in order to get the chromium hydrochloric solution, you need chromium crushed dust and hydrochloric acid. Of course, we already have the chromium crushed dust, so that's no big deal. That's what this whole line of setup here is for, literally just to get that little pink substrate there, or whatever you want to call it. Now, hydrochloric acid, on the other hand, is, I won't say a bit tricky to make, but it is a process. So in order to make hydrochloric acid, you need chlorine, which it details this in the quest book for you. You can get chlorine by placing salt into your electrolyzer. You can get salt from... I just want a normal, like, give me the big salt. You can get salt from the... What am I even looking at right now? Because it's definitely not salt anymore. I don't know what the hell I clicked on there. You can get salt from your quarry. You put a steel drill in, you get salt out, and that's why I was using the steel drill down below, was actually just for salt. It wasn't for the lead or for the antimony, or although I will also need this for making the battery infused alloy or whatever the hell it's called. But essentially, you put salt into an electrolyzer and it gives you chlorine, which you need chlorine plus hydrogen in order to make hydrochloric acid. That's how that works. Now you can get hydrogen from putting... Is it not this one? From putting water in an electrolyzer, which essentially just splits it down into the hydrogen and the oxygen basic components. So like I said, you'll need the hydrogen to come over here to combine with the chlorine to give you hydrochloric acid. However, the oxygen is not going to be wasted, as we'll be using it later on for another side of this project. Anyways, now that you have your hydrogen in here, you have your chlorine from your salt, from your electrolyzer, and no, this isn't fully automatic, but if I wanted it to be, sure, at some point in the future, it could be. Right now, we just take salt, we put it in the top, and we get our results out, which is fine because we're just trying to make some stainless steel, right? We don't have to make everything in the world right now. We just need some fully automatic system, and I would say this is fully automated enough. I could throw a hopper on here and throw several stacks of salt in on the side if I absolutely wanted to, needed to, desired, blah, blah, blah. And so, yeah, that's pretty much how we get our chromium tiny dust, which, as I just said, you can combine with manganese dust, iron dust, nickel dust to get stainless steel. Stainless steel, we're going to have to go through and process it, yada, 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 but it does a lot of good stuff. I think it's actually the stainless steel plates that do a lot of stuff. Yeah, so these have a lot of good crafting recipes. The dimensional core is something y'all know I've been working for quite some time, as it is gives us the ability to essentially have ender chests that we can link up, send storage from one place to another, so on and so forth. It's how you can get into modular routers, because you literally have to have stainless steel to get even just the blank module, which, I mean, I get it. The mod is pretty strong, but that's a hefty barrier there. All right, sorry about that. Got a little distracted as I got pulled away there. So yeah, you can use stainless steel to get the transmutation table, which allows you to get infinite drills. So that way I don't have to continue to trade up, or, well, really the only drills you can trade up for are bronze. You can't trade up for the steel or the gold. So you will eventually need to make drills, unless you have EMC, in which case you can just create them out of thin air. Now, that is one item that we needed, right? Chromium. The other item we needed was manganese. Manganese, similar sort of process here, just not nearly as complicated. So let's take a look here. This is going to be raw iron. Well, this is going to be raw iron, right? That we're pulling iron ore out. It's getting macerated down just one time, just once. And then it's being sent into a centrifuge, which gives us iron dust and manganese crushed dust. So here we have our iron dust, which of course comes from iron. That's pretty good. And then the manganese is going to be sent to this storage drawer, which goes all the way forward into this chemical reactor, which then it's combined with the sulfuric acid. This doesn't need to be on this side, but that was a little bit of a whoopsie on my part. But yeah, so you'll combine sulfuric acid this time around with the manganese crushed dust in order to give you your solution, which you can electrolyze into the tiny dust. Now, the only thing that this really says in the quest book about it is the fact that, you know, blah, 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 you'll need this for more advanced alloy kind of stuff. But here it says sulfuric acid. This will provide you with manganese sulfuric acid, which you then electrolyze for tiny manganese dust. This process will yield a return of some of the sulfuric acid. Now, if you're someone that doesn't read quests, this is probably going to be a little bit of a difficult one to learn on your own. But whatever, teach their own. So I believe that's pretty much it for that side, right? Just take iron, crush it down, you get the stuff, you make them look kind of nice, and down you go. Right? Yeah. So that's pretty much all of it automated. Over here, just for further clarification as far as how to get sulfuric acid, it's really simple. Is there an easy way for me to check this? Yeah, right here. Sulfuric acid has got to be one of the simpler chemical compounds to make because it just takes water, oxygen, and sulfur dust. Sulfur dust we've had for ages thanks to the bronze quarry, and just sort of getting our coal ran through. Water, I mean, we have infinite amounts of water, so I'm not too concerned about that. And oxygen, well, if you'll remember from earlier, whenever we take an electrolyzer and we put water in, we get hydrogen and oxygen. The hydrogen is needed over in this system. However, the oxygen is kind of free to use. So we take the oxygen out of here, we throw it into the chemical reactor. We take sulfur dust, we throw it in there, and we take just some pure basic water. And then what we're left with is, what are we missing here? Oh, we're missing oxygen because this thing isn't taking out hydrogen. Technically, I could empty the hydrogen like once it hits a certain fluid point, so that way this thing continues to run on both sides. But I'm not going to lie, even just being able to make one thing of stainless steel will make me a very, very happy lass. And I mean, we probably need to reset up some things because I'm going to go ahead and say the pants on your ground guy. Pants on the ground guy? Is that? Yeah, long story short, I guess I was about to go into a very long metaphor with that. Things constantly adapt and change in modern Minecraft, and so we got to build to adhere to that. So we do now have everything we need to make stainless steel to a degree. We don't have the vacuum freezer, which was going to be the thing that I worked towards today, but it seems like that might be a little bit of a pipe dream because we're already coming up on our time here. That being said, that's pretty much everything that's happened in between the episodes. I know it was a lot of stuff, but I was trying to make a lot of progress so that way we could actually, as I've said previously, get through this fucking pack. Greg Tech is, and you know, repeated processes, probably not my strongest suit in modern Minecraft. That being said, I'm having a good time with the challenges and all of this, that, and the other. So you'll see over there the large tank I was talking about, and we're probably going to have this for a lot of the fluids and various liquids that we'll need. So I know a liquid is a fluid. You don't have to tell me twice. But yeah, so that's going to be our creosote one. We'll have other ones set up in the darkness out there, just kind of holding our resources. Because I think it looks pretty cool, and it gives us something to look at when we're looking back into this cave and being like, man, it's just kind of dark nothingness, right? Any hoosers, I believe that to be it. Did I do anything else fancy pantsy schmancy? I was supposed to get the fluid crystal down here so I could make that. So what does this go in? Just a macerator? 3 in there and 2 in there. All right. Well, then, with that being said, locked, loaded, and pretty much completely completed, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to say thank you for having watched today's episode. If you did enjoy, please be sure to leave a like down below, comment in the comment section if there was anything that you didn't happen to fully understand, or if there was anything that I was explaining that just left out a whole section or any way to make things more efficient. Y'all know the drill and how the comment section works. Use it so that way the algorithm gods may show more people my videos, and then we can get more advice from more people. And so it's kind of an ongoing cycle, that is. Anyways, as per the usual, I hope you do all stay safe, stay awesome, and stay crafting. Until next time, you beautiful, beautiful people. Peace out.